In this tutorial, you will create a two-step transformation using a rotation and a dilation. First, you'll rotate a picture using the measurement of an angle in your sketch. Next, you'll dilate the picture. You'll use the value of a point on a segment as a scale factor. Finally, you'll combine the rotation and dilation into a custom transformation, creating a spiral. To start your investigation, open a new sketch and choose Help, Picture Gallery. Choose a picture and drag it into your sketch, or copy and paste the picture into your sketch. Now that I have a picture in my sketch, I'd like to rotate it. To begin, I'll draw an angle. I'll use the segment tool and form an angle with two connected segments. Next, I'm going to measure the angle. I'll choose the arrow tool and click in white space to deselect everything. I'll then press and drag to form a selection rectangle. I've selected the vertex and the two adjacent sides of my angle. I can now go to Measure and choose Angle. My angle measurement appears. I'm going to rotate my picture by the measure of angle ABC. To rotate it, though, I also need to tell Sketchpad where the center of my rotation is. I'm going to make point B the center. I'll click in white space, and then I'll select point B. I'll go to Transform and choose Mark Center. And notice when I do, point B flashes to indicate that it's the center. Now I'm ready to do the rotation. I'll select the picture and choose Transform, Rotate. This dialog box appears, indicating that the picture will be rotated by 90 degrees. Well, I don't want it to rotate by 90 degrees. I want it to rotate by the measure of angle ABC. So to change this, I'll move into my sketch and click directly on the angle measurement. When I do, my dialog box changes. Now it tells me that the picture will be rotated by a marked angle, ABC. If I look in my sketch right now, I see a preview of that rotation. This looks good, so I'll click Rotate. My rotated image appears. Now if I change my angle by dragging point A, for instance, not only does the angle measurement change, but so does the rotated picture. That also moves in response to the change in my angle. Now that we've rotated the picture, let's explore what happens when we dilate it. When we dilate something, we make it either bigger or smaller. In this particular case, we're going to look at what happens when we make the picture smaller. To start, I'll choose the Segment tool, and I'll draw a segment in one corner of my sketch. I'll then choose the Point tool and move directly over my segment so that it's highlighted. Then I'll click to place the point. To continue, I'll make sure the point is selected and choose Measure, Value of Point. Sketchpad now tells me that point F on segment DE has a particular value. Well, what does this mean? What is the value of a point? What Sketchpad has done is take segment DE and made it a unit segment of length 1. The value of point F is telling me the location of point F along this unit segment. So when F is at point D, it has a value of 0. When F is at point E, it has a value of 1. And when F is in between, exactly halfway between D and E, it has a value of 0.5. So we're going to use this value to determine our dilation. To dilate my picture, I need to tell Sketchpad two things: the scale factor, by how much it's being shrunk, and the center of my dilation. The scale factor will be the value of point F on segment DE. The center of my dilation will be point B. Since I've already marked point B as the center of a rotation, I no longer need to mark it again. So let's go ahead and do our dilation. I'll select the picture and choose Transform, Dilate. In the dialog box that appears, Sketchpad indicates that it's going to scale my picture by a scale factor of 1/2. That's not what I want. I want it to scale it by the value of point f. So I'll move on to my sketch and click directly on the value of f on segment DE. That changes my dialog box. I can now click Dilate, and my dilated image appears. If I now drag point f, I can see the effect that has on my dilated image. When f is at 0.5, I see my original image and my shrunken dilated image. When point f is on point E, my two images overlap because I've scaled my picture by a scale factor of 1. And as point f gets closer and closer to D, my dilated image gets smaller and smaller and approaches point B, the center of the dilation. Now that I've explored I'd like to combine my two transformations into one. So I'd like to see what happens if I start with my original picture, rotate it by marked angle ABC, and then take that rotated image and dilate it by the value of point f on segment DE. If I can apply that transformation over and over again, I'm going to obtain a very appealing picture, as we'll see soon. To begin, I'm going to select my rotated image and my dilated image and go to Edit and choose Clear Pictures. We no longer need those. Now I'm going to create my two-step transformation. In Sketchpad, we call this building a custom transformation. And to build one, we need to start with a point. So I'll choose my point tool, and I'll place a point anywhere in my sketch. And I'll label that point as point G. Now that I have this point, I'm going to apply a rotation to it. I'm going to rotate it by marked angle ABC, with point B as the center of the rotation. With the point selected, I'll choose Transform, Rotate. Indeed, it's being rotated by the marked angle ABC, so I'll click Rotate. And I'll label that point as G'. Now, for the second step of my two-step transformation, I'm going to start with G' and dilate it by the value of f on segment DE. So with this point G' selected, I'll choose Transform, Dilate, and click Dilate. And I'll label that dilated point as G'. So let's review. I started with G, I rotated it to obtain G', and then I dilated it to obtain G'. I'm now going to teach Sketchpad this two-step transformation. I'll select both G and G', and choose Transform, define Custom Transform, and I'll give it a name. For instance, Twist and Shrink. And click OK. Now when I look in the Transform menu, I see that Twist and Shrink has been added to the menu. To continue, I'm going to select the 3 points, G, G', and G', and choose Display, Hide Points. We no longer need to see those. I can now apply my Twist and Shrink transformation to my original picture. I'll select the picture and go to Transform and choose Twist and Shrink. This shows me the result of first rotating the picture and then dilating it. I don't see the rotation, I just see the effect of a rotation followed by a dilation. To continue, I'm going to apply Twist and Shrink again. This time, I'll start with the image that was the result from my first Twist and Shrink. With the image selected, I'll choose Transform, Twist and Shrink. Once again, I see that Sketchpad has taken my image that I started with and rotated it by angle ABC, and then dilated it by this value of f on segment DE. If I look at all 3 pictures, I see the same amount of rotation from one picture to the next, and I see the picture is getting smaller and smaller. At this point, I might want to predict what do I think this would look like If I start again now with this new image, apply a twist and shrink, start with the result of that twist and shrink, and apply it over and over again, what would I get? Well, let's see. I'll go to the Transform menu, and I could choose Twist and Shrink, but notice there's a keyboard shortcut over here. Rather than use the menu, I'll use the keyboard shortcut. I'll apply it once, I'll apply it twice, and let's go crazy and just apply it over and over again. And I can check if this is what I predicted I'd get. There's also some exploring I can do now that I have this image. There are two things I can change. One is the amount of my rotation, the measure of angle ABC. The other thing I can change is my scale factor, the value of f on segment DE. Let's start with the scale factor. As I drag point F towards point D, my scale factor gets smaller and smaller. It doesn't take long before I can't see many pictures at all in my spiral. When F approaches point E and the scale factor approaches 1, I can see all of the images because they're shrinking very slowly from one image to the next. When I drag point A to change the measure of angle ABC, I see a variety of very pleasing animations and images. One particular interesting mathematical image to look for are those cases where the pictures line up to form lines that approach point B.